We have an interesting story about the original plans for the AEW Women's division in All Elite Wrestling, and although Hikaru Shida, who of course is the current AEW World Women's Champion, she's held the championship for nearly 6 months. AEW's original plan, according to a report by Dave Meltzer on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, the original plan was to position Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, as the biggest babyface in All Elite Wrestling when it comes to the female division. Now, also talking about Kylie Rae, of course, Kylie Rae has been in the headlines, former Impact Wrestling wrestler. She announced her abrupt retirement from pro wrestling yesterday. Dave Meltzer revealed that Britt Baker was earmarked as the, quote, chosen one for the AEW Women's division by executives at All Elite Wrestling and TNT about a year ago, mostly due to her character, a real-life dentist, her mic skills, her good looks, and her ability to do media. However, of course, as we know now, those plans were dropped. She turned heel, which has led to Hikaru Shida becoming the main babyface female on the roster right now. Now, according to Dave Meltzer, the All Elite Wrestling executives were also high on Kylie Rae, who participated in a fatal four-way against Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and Awesome Kong at the inaugural Double or Nothing pay-per-view back in 2019. Cody, the American Nightmare and AEW Executive Vice President, was also reportedly a vocal supporter of Kylie Rae and often compared her, as many others did, to WWE superstar Bayley due to their similar characters. However, Kylie Rae, as we know, requested her release from the company after withdrawing from an advertised match at Fyter Fest in 2019, and yesterday Kylie Rae announced her retirement from pro wrestling through a message on her Patreon service. Rae has also taken a break from social media and deactivated her social media accounts. Now, I wanted to do a video on this because I've been as many people know if they've watched the channel, I've been very critical when it comes to the women's division in AEW, and I think many people have as well. When it comes to Britt Baker being the top babyface in the women's division, Britt Baker as a babyface just didn't work at all, really. It really didn't. It was, for me, in my opinion, it was a dull, white meat, traditional babyface. It was too forced, and if anything, to be honest, it was the Roman Reigns push. It really was. It was that, here's the top babyface, you have to like this person. We're not going to push them in so many different directions, have a crazy personality because we're trying to do a blanket, everyone can like this character, everyone can like this babyface. And it didn't work. It was the Roman Reigns push, and I really didn't think it worked, and I wasn't a massive fan of Britt Baker. I wasn't, because of the character. Now, I'm a really big fan of Britt Baker. I think her heel character is excellent. I think her promos are very good. I think her vignettes are very good. I think the character is just fantastic. I love the partnership with Reba, Rebel, whatever you want to call her. I think that's really well done. And I also think Hikaru Shida, look, she's really great too. She really is great too, and I'm also a big fan of other wrestlers in the women's division in AEW. I'm a big fan of Nyla Rose. I'm actually a really big fan of her. I think she's an attraction. I think she's got a great look. I think she's got a great entrance. I really like the pairing between Nyla Rose and Vickie Guerrero. Personally, I would like to see more of that, but in fairness to both Vickie Guerrero and Nyla Rose, how much character development can you have when there's only one women's match per week on Dynamite that roughly lasts about 5 minutes? And also, the spot it's put in is usually before the main event, so it's a bad spot on the program. And I mentioned this during the video I made about Thunder Rosa, where she could be going, NWA, AEW, WWE, etc. But the problem is when it comes to AEW and their women's division, especially on the presentation on Dynamite, it's the token's women's match on the show. It's a token women's match. That's all it is. And to be honest, when I read this story, and this is why I wanted to do a video on it really, when I read this story, I kind of just rolled my eyes, because the failings of the women's division in AEW doesn't really have anything to do with Britt Baker not working as a babyface. It doesn't have anything to do with Kylie Rae leaving. And I think if you look between the lines in what Dave Meltzer is saying there, he's trying to imply that the criticisms when it comes to the AEW women's division is that things didn't go as planned, where Britt Baker didn't work out as a babyface, plans changed, and Hikaru Shida is the babyface now, and Kylie Rae left. And I've also seen a lot of discussion of, well, AEW has a lot of women Joshi wrestlers from Japan, and because of the pandemic right now, because of the travel, things have slowed down, so that's why the women's division isn't working out that well. And every time I see that, that is just such a myth. It's such a myth. The women's division in AEW was bad well before the pandemic, well before earlier this year, even through 2019. I think everyone said Dynamite, great first 6 months or a couple of months on programming when it debuted in October of 2019. So great 3 months of programming. and even at the start of this year. But a lot of people said the problem is, and I was one of those people, is the women's division. It's bad. And it was well bad before the pandemic ever hit and we got no crowds and the travel restrictions and the quarantine. The reason why the AEW Women's Division has not set the world alight at all is really nothing to do with the talent that they have or they had previously. The reason why the AEW Women's Division isn't good is because the booking absolutely sucks. The booking, it really does. It just sucks. You have one 5-minute match on Dynamite most weeks. You pretty much most of the time have one women's storyline going on at one time in AEW, one main women's storyline. We've yet to see a women's match main event an episode of Dynamite or a pay-per-view. And again, I see the response to that is, well, AEW, they've only been around a year. Give them time. It will take time, but eventually they'll get to it. Well, to be honest, my response to that would be is that it doesn't take a long time to make a women's match the main event of the show. It really doesn't. It doesn't take time. What it does take, though, is faith and belief. You need to believe in your women's division. You need to invest in your women's division. And by invest, I don't mean bringing in big names or talent. I don't mean bringing in big contracts. I'm not saying, AEW, they have to sign Sasha Banks or they have to sign Bayley or Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch. Bring in Ronda Rousey. I don't mean invest like that. What I mean by invest is invest in TV time. Give them an opportunity. Give them multiple storylines at one time. Give them multiple segments in the show, multiple matches in the show. Show some guts. Give them the main event spot on an episode of Dynamite and have the match go 10, 15 minutes. Have multiple women's matches on Dynamite. And again, I see the response to this, and this is a response that really drives me crazy, is, well, they only have a 2-hour block on TNT every week. The TV time is very precious. And by that argument, you're admitting that the women's division isn't a priority. By saying there's only so much time in the show, you're suggesting that the women's division isn't worth that time. And by saying, well, AEW, they're a young company and they'll get to it eventually, with that statement, you're admitting that the women's division isn't a priority for AEW right now. Oh, they'll get to it eventually. Would you say that about the tag team division? No, you wouldn't. So the issue with the AEW Women's Division isn't the talent, and it's not the people being green, or the wrestlers being green, or the characters, or whatever. The issue with the AEW Women's Division is the booking. The issue is that they don't really get the opportunity that they should. Give them the opportunity to step up to the plate, and they'll hit a home run. And it really is as simple as that. That's it. It's as simple as that. And I don't want to be that person that's constantly comparing AEW to WWE, or AEW to Impact, or any company to another company, because they are different and they all have their distinct personality. But you look at the divisions in those companies and it's night and day. The WWE Women's Division and the Knockouts Division in Impact Wrestling is just fundamentally better than the AEW Women's Division. And why is that? Because it's a priority. It's an absolute priority. They are the cornerstones of those respective shows. They have multiple women's matches on the show, multiple women's storylines, multiple championships. We've seen the Knockouts Tag Team Championships returning to Impact right now. And I'm not saying that AEW should bring in Knockouts Tag Team Championships or Women's Tag Team Championships, because they wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, the women can't even get in the main event. They can only have 5-minute matches on Dynamite, so let alone a Tag Team Championship. They had the Women's Tag Team Cup, and that was fine. But that was on their YouTube channel. That's night and day, and putting it on TNT every week on cable. So that's just the case. They have, in WWE and Impact, you have the women or the Knockouts main eventing shows regularly. That just isn't on the cards for AEW right now. And again, the response to that, I've seen it several times now of, wow, WWE and Impact, they've been around longer. And again, seriously? Seriously? It's not a good excuse. It's not a good excuse. And, do me a favor. You're telling me right now that Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida, or Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose couldn't main event an episode of Dynamite? Or Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa? That could easily main event an episode of Dynamite. It just could. It could. The quality is there, but you have to question the desire to put them in the main event. You have to question the desire of, does AEW see the women's division as a priority? And the answer there is no. Unfortunately, that is the case. The answer there is no. It's not a priority for AEW to truly invest in that women's division. And to be honest, I'm just getting slightly almost tired of the excuses with it of, well, they'll get to it, or they're a young company and they're finding their way. Well, AEW, as a company, they've been around for 18 months now. every other aspect of that show is thriving, whether it's the main event scene, whether it's the tag team scene, whether it's the TNT championship, all of that is thriving, and yet the women's division isn't. Why? Because it's not a priority, and the booking just fundamentally isn't good. And when I say the booking, I just mean they're not getting an opportunity. They're not getting an opportunity. So, of course it's going to fail. Of course it's going to fail if they have a 5-minute match on Dynamite every week. That's just the situation. So, of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the AEW Women's Division? What are your thoughts on the original plans for the AEW Women's Division? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys and chatting about pro wrestling here on the channel. If you have enjoyed this video, smash a like on the like button. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. We're doing a lot more watch alongs here on the channel. We're doing them on Mondays for Raw, Wednesdays for AEW Dynamite, Fridays for SmackDown. This Saturday, of course, we're going to have an AEW Full Gear watch along as well. So be sure to subscribe, click that notification bell, and you'll be notified when we go live for all the watch-alongs. We also do daily videos here on the channel, such as this. So if you subscribe and click that notification bell, you'll be notified every time we post a video or we go live. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.